Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So Kaldheim spoiler season has just a little over a day left at this point, but we've still got some really interesting spoilers to talk about. Just this morning, an incredibly powerful commander, perhaps the most powerful commander from this set, was spoiled with Birgi. Birgi's gonna give you a ton of free mana and help you lose your friends at the exact same time. So if you haven't seen what this broken commander does yet, make sure you check this episode out. And also make sure you check out my most recent episode on Haunting Voyage, a mass reanimation foretell finisher. But as with all these spoilers, and with the one I'm going to be talking about in this episode, a quick spoiler warning. If you're not here for spoilers, make sure you check out a different episode and not one of the ones about Kaldheim spoilers. Maybe go check out my earliest deck tech on Nezahal, but please excuse the poor audio quality and the bad transitions. You know what, maybe just check out one of my newer deck techs so I'm not embarrassed, with all that. Anyways, let's jump into it. So the card that I want to talk about in this episode was actually spoiled over the weekend, but I'm finally getting to it now. A lot of spoilers have been coming out and I've been quite busy. But that also gave me time to properly organize my thoughts around this card. So Cosmos Elixir is an artifact that costs 4, and it says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total, otherwise you gain 2 life. Now, the reason I want to talk about this card is because this card had a ton of potential. Just a small change here or there, and this could have been exactly what a lot of decks out there need. This is a conditional card draw engine. If you meet the requirement of being at 40 or more life, you get to draw a card. But if not, you still get a benefit in that you gain 2 life. And perhaps that gets you closer to being at 40 life next time. Again, though, I did mention that with just a few small changes, this card could have been amazing for a lot of decks. And these are decks that are desperately in need of this effect. So when I'm talking about a potential change, what exactly am I talking about? Am I talking about the number of cards that it draws you, or the amount of life that it gains you, or the actual requirement? Nope. In fact, the change is quite simple. The card should have looked like this. None of the text on the card changed or what it did. All I did was change this to an enchantment and make it cost 1 white. And this card probably would have been a staple in mono white, and mono white decks would rejoice because they finally have some way to draw cards. It might be conditional card draw, but it's leagues better than what they have now. This isn't the type of card that all colors need access to. I can understand the mana cost being 4 if it's on an artifact, but it didn't have to be an artifact. This is definitely a white effect, and making its cost more restrictive is a good thing. Even if it would have been white, that's okay too. A life gain deck in Commander almost always has white as one of its colors. So making the cost more restrictive so that you can actually reduce the cost actually makes this card playable. Instead of this just being a throwaway card that really doesn't help anything, it could have been a fantastic card that made a huge impact for a color that needs help. And you didn't need any kind of a design expert to figure this out. I am definitely not a design expert, nor have I claimed to be, but I'm sure that if you asked the majority of Commander players, they would have came to the exact same conclusion. This card should have been white, and it should have cost 1 less. There's just a lot of wasted potential with this, and it was an absolutely huge miss that could have easily been avoided. This could have been white's Phyrexian Arena, and it's a throwaway rare instead. Phyrexian Arena gives guaranteed card draw for a minor downside. I understand that maybe white can't get guaranteed draw, but it can get conditional draw. And again, Cosmos Elixir still gives you a slight benefit in case you miss that draw. And then maybe next time your life total is high enough that you get to draw. But again, unfortunately, white seems to be left out in the cold again. Let's talk about some comparable options that you have when it comes to mono white card draw. First up, let's talk about Endless Atlas, which is an artifact that costs 2 and it has pay 2, tap it, draw a card, activates ability only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. So obviously this can be consistent card draw in pretty much any mono-colored deck, but for a price. And again, mono white definitely needs a card like this because its other options, well, it doesn't really have too many other ones. In fact, more than any other color, it leans heavily on artifacts for its card draw. So another card draw option in mono white is Mind's Eye. It's an artifact that costs 5, and it says whenever an opponent draws a card, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. So yet another card draw effect, but you need to pay for it each time it comes up. Whereas with Cosmic Elixir, you don't have to pay for any draw when it's out, but it is a conditional draw. A card that Cosmic Elixir actually works well with, though, is Dawn of Hope. It's an enchantment that costs 1 and a white and says whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So again, like those previous other options, you need to actually pay for your draw every single time. And then there's Well of Lost Dreams, which is somewhat similar. It has whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. So this has the potential to draw you even more cards by paying 1 for each life that you gained. And again, this can be very effective with Cosmic Elixir, because either you draw 1 card with your Elixir, or you're drawing 2 with this if you're paying 2. Now, we have seen recently in M21 some other conditional draw. Mangar the Diplomat can draw his cards in 2 different ways. He has whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and/or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. And whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. So with this, you are dependent upon your opponents doing things, but conditional card draw is better than no card draw at all. Now, this is definitely not the first time that we've seen mono white have a huge miss. And in Kaldheim, it's also not the first time that we've seen other colors get some pretty exciting things. For example, green keeps getting more and more ways to draw an absurd amount of cards. For example, Battle Mammoth has whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. And then Blessing of Snow says, distribute X+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures you control, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast this spell, then draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And Toski does a lot of things, but it's basically an indestructible draw engine that can't be countered, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. If Toski was a mono-white commander, it would probably be the #1 mono-white commander in about a month. Mono-white needs card advantage, and it seems like other colors keep getting ways to do that, but mono-white never does. In this set, we also saw hard removal for blue, which blue is not supposed to be able to do. Blue can bounce things, sure. It can polymorph things, sure. But it's not supposed to do what Ravenform does, which is exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. A 1/1 is nothing. The excuse for mono white not getting card draw or getting ramp is that it's a huge color pie break. But it's okay for the other colors to get a color pie break. And you know what? Let's just take those white cards and give them the blue anyways. On its face, Ravenform is definitely a white card. And again, so is Cosmos Elixir. But actually, I forgot. I'm sorry. Thank you, Wizards, so much for the mono-white ramp that you finally gave us with Colossal Plow. It's a vehicle, and when it attacks, we get white, 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 and we gain 3 life. And it can come down on turn 2. Absolutely incredible. Look at this incredible ramp. Oh, wait, but it's got a crew 6 cost. And, you know, it's got to survive combat to be useful more than once. So, yeah. Now, unfortunately, we can't just go back and have Wizards actually change Cosmos Elixir to be what it should have been, which is an enchantment that costs 1 white white or white 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 or whatever. So as always, mono white has to make do with what it has. And what it has is a 4-mana artifact, and it's probably still going to use it. So if the question is, if you have a God Eternal O'Ketcher deck, are you going to run Cosmos Elixir? I don't know, probably. I mean, what other options do you have? Or how about an 8.5 Tails deck? Yeah, you're probably going to run it there as well. And look, you can protect it. Wow. Now, obviously, it's going to be more impactful in mono-white life gain decks because you're usually going to be over that 40 life threshold. So a commander like Linden the Steadfast Queen is probably going to want it as well. And perhaps Heliod Sun Crown is going to want it too. Though on that deck, you might be focused on combo, so maybe not. But as this episode is coming to an end, it's time for me to give you my gut feeling on this card. And at this point, you probably already know it, but in my opinion, this card was a huge miss. It could have been something special, and it could have been exactly what mono white needed, and instead we got this. And again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out how this could have easily been fixed. So make up whatever excuses you want, Wizards, as to why this is the way that it is. It's nothing mono white players haven't heard before. And I'm not saying that I don't like Kaldheim. Kaldheim has been a fantastic set, and there are some really well-designed cards. I'm just saying that Wizards had an easy breakaway layup, and they instead decided to stop, take the basketball, and punt it into the crowd. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again, and have a good one. Bye.